So for today's lab, what you're going to do is going to do something called chromatography. And chromatography is a process by which you can separate a mixture of substances when you can't even tell that you have a mixture, when the particles in the mixture are so small that you can't even see them. For instance, the ink that this is written in may be a mixture of different substances, but it all just looks like purple ink. We're going to see how you can separate the different colors, the different pigments that are in this ink into different groups. Okay. To do this, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need some paper towel, a pair of scissors, some watercolor markers, some felt tip watercolor markers. And a typical type is the Crayola marker like this. The tip looks kind of like that right there. It's a felt tip marker. The thing that won't work, you can't use a Sharpie for this. So no Sharpies. And also ballpoint pens, pens that have a point like this right here. That doesn't really work either. You're also going to need some tall glasses, some water, and let's get started and see how this works. I'm going to take one sheet of paper towel like this right here, and I'm going to fold it in half the long way like this, and then fold it in half again so I get a narrow strip of paper towel. At one end of this, I'm just going to cut a point like this right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is cut along those folds. Okay, here's my 4 strips of paper towel, each with a point at the end. Now, on each one, down near the pointy end, I'm going to take one of my markers and I'm going to make a nice thick line on it. Okay, it should be an inch or so up from where the point is, and don't use too much ink because it may break the paper towel, but you want a nice dark line like that. Now, so I know which one this is, at the other end, in that marker, I'm going to write a letter so I can tell them apart. So I'll put an A on that one right there. And then same thing with this brown marker right here, nice dark line. And then I'm going to write the letter B in the marker at the other end like that. Okay? Then I want to put a little bit of water in each of these glasses, no more than an inch deep. And then I'm going to take one of these markers and lay it across the top like that. And I'm going to put the tip down so the tip touches the water. The tip of the paper touches the water. Once the tip of the paper touches the water, I'm going to take the rest of this and fold this over like that right there. Okay? And I'll do the same thing with this one right here. And then I'm going to leave it. Sometimes you only have to wait for 10-15 minutes. Sometimes it helps to leave it for half an hour. The water is going to soak up into the paper. It's going to carry the pigments that are in the ink with it. And eventually the color will go all the way up there. And if there were different pigments in this mixture of that ink, then you'll see those different colors separated out from one another. Once your chromatography is done, you can take it out, take the strip out, set it somewhere to let it dry, and then you can try some other things. You could try spinach, you could try blueberries. You can do that by sort of crushing the color into the paper, or by crushing up the berries or something like that, putting them in water, and then just putting that in the bottom of the glass. So if I crush these up, get them a little bit wet, I get some nice colored water from that, and I can put that in the bottom of the glass and set up chromatography with that. Try some different things, see what you end up with, see what mixtures you can separate out and what different colors are going to be in those different mixtures of pigments.